Steven Seagal. A man of action, philosophy, and mystery Aikido, the martial art that Steven Seagal dedicated much of his life to is not merely a system of self-defense. It's a way of being. It emphasizes harmony over conflict, fluidity over rigidity, and connection over isolation. These principles weren't just part of Seagal's training. They became the foundation for how he navigated both his personal and professional worlds. Imagine standing in the dojo, surrounded by students eager to learn from this foreigner who had mastered their traditional art. For Seagal, teaching Aikido in Japan wasn't just about sharing techniques. It was about bridging cultures, fostering mutual respect, and proving that wisdom knows no borders. His time in Osaka wasn't simply an exercise in martial arts instruction. It was a profound lesson in humility, patience, and understanding. The duality of strength and peace that Seagal embodied through Aikido is perhaps what makes him such a compelling figure. On one hand, there's the undeniable physicality of his presence, his towering frame, his commanding voice, his ability to move with precision and power. On the other hand, there's a quiet stillness about him, an aura of introspection that hints at a deeper inner world. This juxtaposition mirrors the very essence of Aikido itself, the meeting point between force and gentleness, action and restraint, chaos and calm. When Seagal speaks of redirecting energy rather than opposing it, he isn't just talking about combat. He's offering a blueprint for navigating life's complexities. Consider the metaphorical implications of Aikido's core. Philosophy, life, like a sparring match, often presents us with challenges that seem insurmountable. Do we meet them head-on with brute force, risking exhaustion or failure? Or do we step back, assess the situation, and find a way to turn adversity into opportunity? Seagal's approach suggests that true strength lies not in domination, but in adaptability. By blending with the forces around us, we can transform potential threats into moments of growth. This perspective resonates deeply in today's fast-paced, high-pressure world, where resilience and flexibility are more valuable than ever. Moreover, Seagal's interpretation of true warriors as non-violent beings invites further reflection. The concept of a warrior without violence might initially appear contradictory, but upon closer examination, it reveals a higher truth. A warrior, in the most noble sense, is someone who defends, not destroys. They protect values, uphold justice, and inspire others through their actions. Violence, in contrast, often stems from fear, anger, or a desire for control. Seagal's assertion challenges conventional notions of heroism, suggesting that real courage comes from compassion, empathy, and the willingness to seek peaceful resolutions, even in the face of hostility. This philosophy permeates his filmography as well. While many action stars rely on explosive fight scenes and over-the-top stunts to captivate audiences, Seagal brought a different kind of intensity to his roles. His characters weren't invincible superhumans. They were grounded individuals driven by a strong moral compass. Whether portraying a former CIA operative in Above the Law or a chef-turned-hero in Under Siege, Seagal infused his performances with a sense of purpose that went beyond mere entertainment. He wasn't just fighting bad guys on screen. He was embodying the ideals of justice, honor, and integrity. Yet, despite his larger-than-life persona, Seagal remains an enigma. There's an air of mystery surrounding him, a sense that there's always more beneath the surface. Is he a philosopher? A martial artist? An actor? A provocateur? Perhaps he's all of these things, and none of them fully encapsulate who he is. That ambiguity adds to his allure, leaving fans and critics alike wondering, who is the real Steven Seagal? And maybe that's the point. Like Aikido itself, Seagal resists easy categorization. He flows, adapts, and evolves, refusing to be pinned down by labels or expectations. In essence, Steven Seagal's journey, from the dojos of Osaka to the silver screen, is a testament to the power of balance. He has shown us that strength and serenity are not mutually exclusive. that action and contemplation can coexist, and that even in the midst of chaos, harmony is possible. Through his life and work, he continues to challenge us to look beyond surface-level distinctions and embrace the interconnectedness of all things. After all, isn't that what true mastery, whether in martial arts, filmmaking, or life, is all about? Seagal's spiritual odyssey. From fighting to finding inner peace. Seagal's spiritual odyssey is not just a side note in his life. It's the thread that weaves together his martial arts discipline, his acting career, and his activism. His immersion in Tibetan Buddhism wasn't merely an intellectual pursuit. It was a visceral response to the existential questions that plagued him. Imagine a man who could incapacitate an opponent with ease, yet spend hours in silent meditation, contemplating the nature of existence. This duality, this interplay between action and introspection, is what makes Seagal's journey so compelling. It's as if he sought to reconcile the external world of conflict with the internal quest for peace. Consider the profound irony of his cinematic roles. On screen, Seagal often portrayed characters who operated in a realm of violence. Men who fought fire with fire, who dismantled evil through force. Yet, off-screen, he preached the exact opposite: non-violence, compassion, and mindfulness. Is this contradiction accidental, or is it deliberate? Perhaps his films serve as modern parables, illustrating the tension between humanity's darker instincts and its higher aspirations. When audiences watch Seagal take down villains with precision and grace, they're not just witnessing action. They're seeing a metaphor for the struggle within us all, the battle between aggression and harmony, ego and enlightenment. Buddhism teaches that true transformation begins with self-awareness, and Seagal seems to embody this principle in his advocacy work. Take, for instance, his commitment to environmental causes. He doesn't just speak about protecting the planet. He acts, whether it's supporting initiatives to combat climate change, advocating for sustainable practices, or raising awareness about endangered species. Seagal's efforts reflect a deep understanding of interconnectedness. In Buddhist philosophy, every action has consequences, rippling outward like waves in a pond. By championing environmental sustainability, Seagal isn't just addressing ecological issues. He's reminding us of our responsibility to the greater web of life. Every tree saved, every animal protected, is a step toward healing not only the earth, but also ourselves. Similarly, his dedication to animal rights underscores a profound respect for all forms of life. To harm another being, according to Buddhist teachings, is to perpetuate suffering, and ultimately, to harm oneself. Seagal's transition from breaking bones on screen to safeguarding fragile ecosystems and vulnerable creatures speaks volumes about his evolution. It's as though he's saying, "I once played the role of destruction, but now I choose creation." This shift isn't just admirable, it's transformative. It challenges us to rethink our own lives. What roles do we play? Are we contributing to the world's suffering, or are we alleviating it? Yet, spirituality is rarely a linear path, and Seagal's journey has been no exception. Critics have questioned the authenticity of his Buddhist practice, pointing to his larger-than-life persona and occasional controversies. But isn't the essence of spirituality deeply personal? Who among us can claim to fully understand another's inner world? For Seagal, Buddhism may not be about adhering to rigid doctrines or conforming to societal expectations. Instead, it might be about finding meaning, purpose, and connection in a chaotic world. If his actions, his advocacy, his art, his words reflect a sincere desire to alleviate suffering, then perhaps that's enough. Moreover, Seagal's embrace of Buddhism offers a fascinating lens through which to view his public image. While some see contradictions, a Hollywood star preaching humility, a martial artist advocating nonviolence, others might see integration. After all, isn't life itself full of paradoxes? The same hand that delivers a knockout punch can also offer a helping hand. The same mind that envisions cinematic battles can also conceive strategies for global peace. In this light, Seagal's spiritual journey becomes less about resolving contradictions and more about embracing complexity. Ultimately, Seagal's exploration of Buddhism invites us to reflect on our own paths. How do we navigate the tension between our outer lives and inner truths? How do we find balance between action and contemplation, strength and gentleness, ambition and humility? Through his example, flawed though it may be, Seagal reminds us that the search for inner peace is not a destination. It's a lifelong journey. And perhaps that's the most profound lesson of all, that even those who seem larger than life are still, at their core, seekers, striving to make sense of the infinite mysteries of existence. A bond beyond borders, Seagal and the Dalai Lama. The bond between Steven Seagal and the Dalai Lama is more than just a curious footnote in their respective lives. It's a testament to the power of shared values transcending cultural, geographical, and societal divides. Consider the imagery. A Hollywood action star sitting humbly among monks, listening intently as one of the world's most revered spiritual leaders imparts timeless wisdom. It's an unlikely pairing, yet it speaks volumes about the universality of compassion, humility, and the pursuit of truth. Isn't it fascinating how two people from such disparate backgrounds can forge a connection rooted not in fame or fortune, but in something far deeper? Spiritual kinship. When Seagal attends teachings led by the Dalai Lama, he isn't merely participating in a ritual. He's engaging with ideas that challenge the very fabric of human existence. The Dalai Lama's teachings often emphasize impermanence, interconnectedness, and the cultivation of inner peace, concepts that resonate deeply with Seagal's own philosophical leanings. For someone like Seagal, who has spent decades exploring martial arts and Eastern philosophies, these moments must feel like coming home. They offer not only validation for his lifelong journey, but also inspiration to delve even further into the mysteries of existence. But what does this relationship signify on a broader scale? Beyond personal admiration, it symbolizes a bridge between East and West, a meeting point where ancient wisdom meets modern influence. The Dalai Lama, with his serene demeanor and profound insights, embodies the essence of Tibetan Buddhism, a path of non-violence, mindfulness, and universal compassion. Seagal, with his larger-than-life persona and global platform, represents the dynamism of Western culture, bold, unapologetic, and ever-evolving. Together, they create a powerful synergy, a reminder that spirituality isn't confined to quiet, meditation halls or remote monasteries. It can thrive anywhere, even amidst the chaos of celebrity life and the fast-paced world of entertainment. Photographs of Seagal and the Dalai Lama together carry a weight that words alone cannot convey. There's something profoundly moving about seeing a man known for his physical prowess and cinematic bravado, sitting quietly beside a figure synonymous with peace and enlightenment. These images serve as visual metaphors for unity, the idea that no matter how different we may seem, there is always common ground to be found. In a world increasingly divided by politics, religion, and ideology, their friendship offers a glimmer of hope. It reminds us that humanity's greatest strength lies not in its differences, but in its ability to connect across them. For the Dalai Lama, associating with someone like Seagal might represent an acknowledgement that spiritual growth isn't limited to those who live ascetic lives. True enlightenment can occur anywhere, even within the bustling corridors of Hollywood. By embracing Seagal as a fellow traveler on the path to understanding, the Dalai Lama reinforces the notion that spirituality is inclusive, accessible, and adaptable to all walks of life. After all, if a martial artist turned movie star can find meaning in Buddhist teachings, then surely anyone can. As for Seagal, this relationship undoubtedly holds transformative potential. Imagine being in his shoes, learning directly from a spiritual luminary whose words have inspired millions worldwide. Wouldn't that ignite a fire within you to deepen your practice, expand your perspective, and share what you've learned with others? This could explain why Seagal has been so vocal in supporting Tibetan causes, using his celebrity status to shine a light on issues that might otherwise remain overlooked, whether advocating for Tibetan autonomy, promoting awareness of Chinese oppression, or preserving Tibetan culture and traditions. Seagal leverages his platform to amplify voices that desperately need to be heard. Yet, the significance of their bond goes beyond activism or mutual admiration. At its core, it reflects a shared commitment to fostering peace, not through force or coercion, but through dialogue, empathy, and understanding. The Dalai Lama teaches that true change begins within, and Seagal seems to have taken this lesson to heart. His continued efforts to blend action with introspection, power with compassion, suggest that he views his association with the Dalai Lama not as a badge of honor, but as a call to action. Perhaps, in some ways, the Dalai Lama serves as both mentor and mirror for Seagal, reflecting back the best version of himself while guiding him toward greater heights. In the end, the friendship between Steven Seagal and the Dalai Lama challenges us to rethink our assumptions about spirituality, celebrity, and the boundaries that separate us. It reminds us that meaningful connections can arise in the most unexpected places, and that when they do, they have the power to inspire, unite, and transform. So, the next time you see a photograph of these two remarkable figures side by side, take a moment to reflect. What lessons can we draw from their bond? How might we, too, build bridges across divides and work toward a more compassionate world? The title of Protector of Tibetan Buddhism, Myth or Reality? The title of Dharma Protector bestowed upon Steven Seagal by the Dalai Lama is undeniably one of the most fascinating aspects of his spiritual journey. It raises profound questions about tradition, cultural exchange, and the intersection of fame with sacred roles. To fully appreciate its significance or controversy, we must delve deeper into what it means to be a Dharma protector in Tibetan Buddhism and how such a title could apply to someone like Seagal. In Tibetan Buddhism, Dharma protectors are not mere symbolic figures. They play an essential role in safeguarding the teachings of the Buddha from corruption, misinterpretation, or extinction. These protectors can take many forms. Some are wrathful deities who ward off obstacles, while others are human practitioners who dedicate their lives to upholding the Dharma through wisdom, discipline, and compassion. Traditionally, these roles are reserved for highly advanced individuals who have undergone rigorous training and demonstrated unwavering commitment to the path. So, when reports surfaced that Seagal had been given this title, it understandably sparked a debate. How does a Hollywood actor, however spiritually inclined, fit into such a revered framework? One possible interpretation is that the title was indeed honorary, a gesture of gratitude rather than a literal assignment of divine responsibility. The Dalai Lama, known for his inclusive approach to spirituality, may have recognized Seagal's efforts to promote Tibetan culture and Buddhism on a global stage. By bestowing this title, he might have been acknowledging Seagal's unique position as a cultural ambassador, someone capable of bridging the gap between East and West. In this context, the title becomes less about fulfilling traditional duties and more about celebrating Seagal's contributions to preserving and disseminating ancient wisdom in modern times. However, skepticism is warranted and perhaps necessary. Fame has a way of amplifying narratives, sometimes distorting reality in the process. Could the title have been exaggerated or misunderstood? It wouldn't be the first time that celebrity involvement in spiritual matters led to misconceptions. Critics might argue that calling Seagal a Dharma protector diminishes the sanctity of the role, reducing it to something more accessible or even marketable for Western audiences. After all, how can someone whose career revolves around high-octane action films and larger-than-life personas embody the humility and detachment traditionally associated with such a sacred title? Yet, dismissing the title outright risks overlooking its symbolic importance. Whether or not Seagal fulfills the technical responsibilities of a Dharma protector, the idea itself carries weight. It underscores the evolving nature of spirituality in a globalized world, where ancient traditions must adapt to remain relevant. Figures like Seagal serve as conduits, introducing complex philosophies to people who might otherwise never encounter them. Through interviews, documentaries, and public appearances, he brings attention to Tibetan Buddhism, ensuring that its core messages, compassion, mindfulness, interconnectedness, reach mainstream audiences. Isn't there value in that regardless of whether the title aligns perfectly with traditional definitions? Moreover, the Dalai Lama's decision to honor Seagal speaks volumes about his own philosophy, known for his ability to transcend rigid boundaries. The Dalai Lama often emphasizes the universality of compassion and the importance of meeting people where they are. If he saw something in Seagal, whether it was genuine devotion, a sincere desire to learn, or simply the potential to spread positive influence, then perhaps we should trust his judgment. After all, the Dalai Lama's perspective is shaped by decades of spiritual practice and insight. He understands better than most that enlightenment isn't confined to monasteries or temples. It can manifest in unexpected places, even within the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Ultimately, the real value of the title lies not in its authenticity, but in the intention behind it. Was it meant to elevate Seagal to the status of a deity-like protector? Probably not. But was it intended to recognize his role as a bridge between cultures, a voice for marginalized traditions, and a proponent of universal values? Absolutely. In today's fast-paced materialistic world, where ancient wisdom risks being overshadowed by consumerism and superficiality, every effort to preserve and propagate these teachings matters. Seagal's involvement, flawed though it may be, contributes to this broader mission. So, let us consider the title of Dharma Protector, not as a definitive label, but as a metaphorical mantle, one that reflects Seagal's ongoing journey toward understanding and sharing the Dharma. Whether he embodies the traditional expectations of the role is secondary to the impact he has made. After all, isn't the essence of Buddhism about looking beyond appearances and embracing the deeper truths beneath? Perhaps then, the true measure of Seagal's worthiness lies not in the title itself, but in the actions it inspires, in both him and those who hear his story. Broader reflections, celebrity, spirituality, and modern challenges. Seagal's story offers a compelling lens through which to examine the complex relationship between celebrity and spirituality, two realms that often seem at odds but can, in fact, complement each other in unexpected ways. Celebrities like Seagal occupy a unique space in society. They are not just entertainers or public figures. They are influencers with the power to shape cultural narratives. When someone of his stature embraces spiritual philosophies, it amplifies their reach, bringing ancient wisdom into the mainstream consciousness. Imagine a teenager watching one of Seagal's films for the action, but leaving with a seed planted about mindfulness or interconnectedness. Isn't that a form of quiet revolution? By weaving these concepts into his work, whether intentionally or not, he makes them accessible to audiences who might never pick up a Buddhist text or attend a meditation retreat. Yet, this intersection of fame and spirituality is fraught with challenges. The very qualities that make celebrities effective messengers, their visibility, charisma, and influence, also invite scrutiny and skepticism. Critics often point to Seagal's controversies, questioning whether his embrace of Buddhism is genuine or merely performative. But here's the thing. No one embarks on a spiritual journey without imperfections. Spirituality itself isn't about achieving flawlessness. It's about striving for growth, even amidst setbacks. Shouldn't we celebrate the progress rather than fixate on the missteps? After all, if spirituality were reserved only for the perfect, none of us would qualify. What sets Seagal apart, and what makes his story particularly instructive, is his willingness to stay true to his passions despite external judgment. In an era dominated by social media and curated personas, authenticity has become a rare commodity. Many people, especially those in the public eye, feel pressured to conform to societal expectations or maintain a polished image. Seagal, however, seems unbothered by such constraints. Whether he's practicing Aikido, advocating for environmental causes, or exploring Buddhist teachings. He follows his inner compass rather than seeking approval from others. This steadfastness is both refreshing and inspiring. It reminds us that living authentically requires courage, a willingness to embrace our complexities and pursue what resonates deeply with us, even when it invites criticism. Moreover, Seagal's ability to introduce universal truths through unconventional means highlights the adaptability of spiritual principles. Concepts like compassion, mindfulness, and interconnectedness aren't confined to any one religion or philosophy. They transcend boundaries, speaking to the shared human experience. Through his films, Seagal doesn't deliver sermons. Instead, he embeds these ideas subtly within stories of justice, resilience, and redemption. For instance, his characters often embody the notion that true strength lies not in domination, but in protecting others. Isn't that a reflection of interconnectedness? When we recognize our shared humanity, we naturally gravitate toward acts of kindness and understanding. These themes resonate because they tap into something fundamental within us, a longing for connection in an increasingly fragmented world. Seagal's story also invites us to reflect on the role of imperfection in personal growth. Too often, we dismiss individuals whose actions don't align perfectly with their stated values. But isn't hypocrisy part of the human condition? We are all works in progress, navigating contradictions and learning as we go. What matters most is the direction in which we're heading. If Seagal has inspired even a fraction of his audience to adopt more compassionate attitudes or engage in meaningful reflection, then hasn't he made a positive contribution? Perfection should never be the standard by which we measure impact. Finally, there's something profoundly empowering about witnessing someone defy categorization. Society loves labels. It wants to box people into neat roles: actor, activist, spiritual seeker. Seagal refuses to be confined. He moves fluidly between worlds, embodying a duality that mirrors the complexity of life itself. This fluidity serves as a reminder that we, too, don't have to choose a single identity or path. We can be multifaceted, pursuing diverse passions while staying grounded in our core values. Doesn't that freedom inspire you to explore your own potential, to chase what ignites your soul, regardless of how unconventional it may seem? In essence, Seagal's journey teaches us that spirituality isn't about perfection or exclusivity. It's about connection. It's about finding threads of meaning in unexpected places and using whatever platform we have to share those insights with others. His story encourages us to look beyond surface-level judgments and focus instead on the broader impact someone can have. And perhaps most importantly, it reminds us that authenticity, though challenging, is always worth pursuing. After all, when we live true to ourselves, we not only enrich our own lives, but also create ripples that touch the lives of others. Final thoughts. Lessons from a complex life. Steven Seagal's journey, with all its complexities and contradictions, serves as a mirror reflecting the human condition in its rawest form. Life, much like his story, is not a straight line, but a series of peaks and valleys, moments of clarity interspersed with periods of confusion. What makes Seagal's narrative so compelling is that it doesn't shy away from these contradictions. It embraces them. He is both warrior and philosopher, action star and spiritual seeker, flawed human and aspirational figure. And isn't that what we all are, in some way? A blend of light and shadow, strength and vulnerability, intention and imperfection. The beauty of Seagal's life lies not in any claim to perfection, but in his relentless pursuit of meaning. Whether or not he truly embodies the title of Dharma protector, the sincerity of his efforts to uplift Tibetan Buddhism and its teachings cannot be denied. His advocacy for compassion, mindfulness, and interconnectedness has touched lives, even if indirectly. In a world that often prioritizes external achievements over inner growth, Seagal's willingness to explore the depths of spirituality and share that exploration with others is a testament to the power of curiosity and commitment. It reminds us that our contributions don't have to be flawless to be valuable. They simply need to come from a place of authenticity. This notion that imperfection is part of the process is profoundly liberating. Too often, we hold ourselves to unrealistic standards, believing that we must achieve some idealized version of success or enlightenment before we can make a difference. But Seagal's story challenges that belief. Here is a man who has faced criticism, controversy, and doubt, yet he continues to move forward, guided by his passions and principles. His life encourages us to do the same, to embrace our own contradictions, to honor the messy, non-linear path of growth, and to trust that even our missteps can lead to meaningful outcomes. Moreover, Seagal's journey underscores the importance of finding harmony, not just within ourselves, but in how we engage with the world. Harmony doesn't mean avoiding conflict or suppressing our true nature. Rather, it's about balancing opposing forces, just as Aikido teaches practitioners to redirect energy rather than resist it. So too does life invite us to flow with its challenges instead of fighting against them. Seagal's ability to navigate seemingly disparate worlds, Hollywood and spirituality, action and introspection, demonstrates that harmony is possible even in the most unlikely places. It's a lesson worth carrying into our own lives. How can we reconcile our ambitions with our values, our desires with our responsibilities, our individuality with our interconnectedness? Ultimately, Seagal's story invites us to see ourselves as seekers, imperfect, evolving, and endlessly curious. In this vast universe, none of us has all the answers. We stumble, we learn, we grow, and sometimes we falter again. But perhaps that's the point. The search for meaning isn't about arriving at a final destination. It's about embracing the journey itself. The questions, the struggles, the discoveries. There's a quiet comfort in knowing that we're all navigating this shared experience, each of us trying to find our place and purpose in the grand tapestry of existence. And maybe, just maybe, the greatest lesson we can take from Steven Seagal's life is this: perfection is an illusion, but imperfection is where the magic happens. It's in our flaws, our vulnerabilities, and our contradictions that we find the raw material for transformation. So let his story inspire you, not to strive for unattainable ideals, but to celebrate the beautiful complexity of being human. After all, isn't there something deeply comforting about the idea that we're all works in progress, forever seeking, forever becoming?